afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon sa inyong lahat. Tensya na, nagdadrive ako. Yan. Andyan na ba si Gov Adrian?
Good afternoon
Hello?
po. Nandito na po.
Yes, good afternoon. Nasa Davao ka ba?
Yes po, BPX. Nandito po ngayon sa Davao.
Kailan uwi mo?
Mamaya po yung flight after ng Thursday Delight.
Okay. Sige, thank you, guys. So, our speaker for today doesn't need a long introduction kasi suki na natin siya sa Thursday Delight natin. Diba? So, hindi na tayo palaging matanggihan yan. Kung nasaan siya, talagang pagbibigyan niya tayo. Kasi ito ay isa na rin sa mga naging advocacy niya ang magbigay ng free webinar sa ating mga members. No? So, without so much further ado, let's all welcome our speaker for today's webinar, ang ating National Auditor na si Gov Adrian Ray. No? Nasa Davao siya ngayon. Tingnan ninyo kahit nasa Davao siya, nag-allocate siya ng time niya para sa Thursday Delight. Again, thank you very much, Gov.
Thank you po.
Sensya na, nagda-drive ako. Mamaya, balik ako ulit, makikinig na lang sa'yo, no? So, the
Okay
floor
po.
is yours now. So, hindi ko alam kung sinong NLC andyan ngayon. But anyway, the floor is yours. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all the attendees of Thursday Delight, and good to see you all again. Ang tagal ko na.
Magandang hapon, Ma'am Chi.
Hello, Sir Domi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, pag solar, pag renewable, pag-uusapan, andyan palagi si Gov Adrian. So, the floor is yours. Start na po kayo.
Thank you po, BPX.
Thank you.
And ingat po
Okay,
sa
thank you.
pagdadrive po ninyo.
Thank you.
Katulad po ng sinabi ng ating BPX, kapag Thursday Delight po kasi, of course, hindi po natin pwedeng tanggihan. There's an invitation. So, good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. So, for today's presentation po, yung inihanda ko is one of my favorite topic about microgrid system. Kasi yung microgrid system po talaga yung medyo minahal ko na trabaho. So, let me just share my screen that are all interested na to hear this presentation. Okay. Kita na po ba yung PowerPoint? Pwede pong pa-confirm na lang.
Kita po, sir. Kita po, sir.
Kita na.
Okay
I-play mo na lang.
Okay po, thank you po. I-off ko lang po muna yung video ko dahil sabi nga po ni BPX kanina, dito po kami sa Davao, nasa bundok po kami. And good thing, ang lakas po ng internet kahit po nandito sa bundok sa Davao. So, yan po. So my presentation po is about how to build your first microgrid systems. Kung naka-attend po kayo doon sa mga previous presentation ko, dinidiscuss ko po doon kung ano yung microgrid system, ano yung application ng renewable energy microgrid systems. So ngayon naman po, lagyan natin ng mas maraming detalye related to the implementation. So kung ikaw po ay isang electrical practitioner, naghahanap ka po ng mga projects na po pwedeng gawin, or kung kayo po ay nasa academe, estudyante, naghahanap po kayo ng topic for your research, or sa government po kayo, siguro sa Department of Energy, sa Energy Regulatory Commission, or any other government agency. So ito po, makikita natin what is the, I can say, reality in terms of the development of microgrid systems in the Philippines. So, ayun po, alam ko po, kilala nyo na po ako. Tip na po natin ito. So, I have here a very short presentation on about one of our projects before. for a very small microgrid system in Palawan. So, i-play ko lang po muna.
As the Philippines is made up of 7,000 islands, it is very difficult to bring the grid to the different islands. With the availability of microgrids, we can now scale rapidly and bring power to the community in a fast and efficient manner.
Actually, ang San Isidro po ay isang fishing village na kung saan po ay kailangan talaga nila ng mga freezer na katulad na naka-install ngayon. Kinakailangan po talaga na magkaroon ng pailaw doon sa Barangay San Isidro para doon sa kanilang hanap buhay. For my 33 years in service, hindi namin akalain na itong isang isla na katulad ng Barangay San Isidro ay mabibigyan ng isang 24 hours na supply ng kuryente.
Noon, talagang mahirap yung ilaw dito kasi ginagamit ng mga tao noon, Petromax. Mag-meeting kami, session, gagawa ng mga resolution namin, mga ordinansa. Generator ang ginagamit namin, magastos. Napansin ko na pagdating ang solar, yan ang ginagamit namin. Napansin ko na.
Okay, so that is one of our microgrid, very small microgrid projects in Palawan way back 2019. And this is just one of the stories of the effect of electrification to communities in the Philippines. So marami pa po tayong communities, islands in the Philippines without electricity. So for today's presentation, discuss kung ano ba yung pwede nating magawa as electrical practitioners for the development of this kind of systems and eventually for your projects in the future. Makatulong tayo dun sa mga communities na malapit sa inyo. So, napakarami pa talaga for Luzon. I think we are now in 90% electrification, so may around 10% pa na unelectrified. For Visayas, I think around 80%, but for Mindanao, 70% pa lang electrification natin. So yung baka may mga participants tayo coming from Mindanao, marami talagang opportunity for us electrical practitioners. Okay, so let me define first what is a microgrid system. So, ito yung favorite ko na definition ng microgrid system. So sabi dito, it is a group of interconnected nodes and distributed energy resources that acts as a single controllable entity. So very simple yung definition natin ng microgrid system. If you have loads and you have power source, it could be a combination of renewable energy and non-renewable. And you can control it as a single entity by using a controller or what we call microgrid controller. You can consider it as a microgrid system. So for microgrid system, it can be connected to the grid, meaning to say, for systems with existing supply coming from the grid. For example, you are connected with Meralco or other distribution utility, you can still create a microgrid system wherein kapag nawalan ng power yung grid, you have a stable supply of electricity from your different power sources. So, hindi lang siya for limited period of time. So, kapag extended yung power interruption, you have the ability to supply your need using your power sources. Aside from the grid connected, meron din tayong off-grid or island mode. So these are the systems na hindi connected sa grid. So one example of this kind of system is yung kanina yung sa video presentation. So this is applicable for islands, for communities na remote, walang connection sa grid. So you can create a standalone microgrid system. Most of my discussion for this afternoon is focused on the island mode systems. For on-grid naman kasi right now for the Philippines, hindi pa ganun talaga yung need natin. Kasi for the Philippines, ang problem talaga natin is yung total electrification. Marami pang lugar yung walang kuryente. For on-grid systems kasi, ang pinaka goal lang naman talaga nito is yung reliability of supply, especially for industrial plants na kailangan talaga yung continuous supply of electricity. So, not only relying on diesel generators, some of the industrial plants, naglalagay sila ng solar para pagka may power interrupt, they can continue the operation at a lower cost ng electricity. So, meron tayong controller for a microgrid system. So, for different operations, we have different setup or setting of the microgrid controller. Depende yun sa power supply, kung anong technology ang gamit. For example, a combination of solar and wind. And depending on the type of loads. So kapag industrial na constant naman yung demand, iba yung control natin, dispatch natin versus an industrial plant naman na varying yung nagiging demand. Depende dun sa project, we need to specify the correct controller for the system. So this is a simple illustration of the microgrid system. Okay, so as you can see, meron tayong different sources of electricity here. So you have your renewable energy, your generator, battery storage, combined heat and power, and you have your loads, no, yung facility. Of course, pwede siyang on-grid or off-grid system. So if you are working in an industrial facility or a commercial building or kahit na government institution, you can evaluate your system. Do you have a backup generator? If you have a backup generator, titingnan ninyo if kapag magkaroon ba tayo ng tagal na power interruption, will that be enough to supply your demand? Or will that be cost-effective solution if meron tayong matagal na power interruption? For example, may dumating na bagyo, nasira yung linya natin, transmission. So, evaluate ninyo if can still continue yung operation, especially if you are in a critical facility. So, baka naman mamaya, karoon tayo ng bagyo, masira yung infrastructure natin, yung transmission line, wala na pala tayong pagkukunan ng kuryente. So, apektado din yung operation natin. So, yun yung purpose talaga ng microgrid system. So, for the microgrid system, this is actually a combination of power generation and so you have here ating generation. So this would be a combination of renewable and non-renewable sources. Then you have your distribution system. Pagka microgrid system, power generation and distribution yung ino-operate natin. Hindi lang generation or distribution. So yun yung kagandahan niya lang is you will be exposed to generation and distribution. So magandang exposure ito, especially for yung ating mga bagong graduates or bagong practitioners, if you are really looking for a job na marami kayong matututunan. This is one of the recommended natin yung microgrid systems. If we talk about microgrid system, baka iniisip ninyo since yung kanyang sa name niya is micro, so for small. So yung pinakita ko kaninang video, that is for very small community. But microgrid systems can be used for larger communities. Can also be used for cities, island electrification. So meron tayong range, no, na in as small as 10 kilowatt, pwede siya. Yung pinakita ko kanina, that's a combination of solar rooftop with battery storage. So nasa mga 15 kilowatt system lang yun. So napakaliit. But we were also able to implement projects in the megawatt scale. So meron tayong mga involvement to a project with a capacity of 1 megawatt solar and a combination of other sources. Kapag microgrid system, wala siya talagang limit eh. Pwede siya 10 megawatt, 100 megawatt. As long as ma-comply natin yung sa definition kanina, you have your loads and you have your different sources of electricity, na you have a control strategy and you can supply electricity in a reliable and cost-effective solution. So, wala talaga siyang limit na capacity. So, madalas kasi ito sa akin natatanong before. So, wala po talaga tayong limit for microgrid systems. These are the basic features of the system. So, of course, for a microgrid system, if you are familiar with distributed energy resources, so, yung ating mga power supply, mga power plant natin na directly connected to the distribution system. So, for microgrid application talaga yon. Kasi hindi na natin ginagamit yung transmission system natin. So, i-install tayo ng mga power plant directly located kung saan yung ating demand. So, yun nga lang, kailangan this distributed energy resources can be controlled as a single entity. Meaning to say, if you have a solar and wind power or hydro, dapat you can manage these resources and you can use these resources in an optimal way. Sabihin, if there is a power coming from the sun, dapat magamit mo yung solar. Same with wind, if there's power coming from wind, so you need to use your wind. So kailangan control po yung use ating different resources. So dapat meron siyang ability to disconnect or to run in parallel with the grid, and can be intentionally islanded, disconnected to the grid. Especially now, if kapag pinakapos po ng supply yung grid, if we have good microgrid systems installed, so pwedeng mag-usap na these microgrid systems, since they are capable of operating 24/7 in a reliable and cost-effective manner. So pwede mag-usap na temporarily they can be disconnected from the grid and operate as a standalone para hindi maapektuhan yung buong grid. For advanced features, so ayan, can automatically transition to and from and operate islanded while compatible with the system protection devices and coordination. So isa to sa mga importante, of course, if you are installing solar and other power plants, have to make sure na dapat properly coordinated yung mga protective devices. Capable of managing both dispatchable and intermittent resources with or without integrated energy storage. So meron ding advanced controls for optimization ng operation ng microgrid system. Scalable, because you can start with very small system, and when the the demand is more than the power supply, you can add solar panels or other sources microgrid systems. For the benefits, so medyo marami tayong benefits for microgrid system, but let's just focus on yung sa mga technical uh, benefits natin. Of course, yung reliability, katulad nung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina, since are using multiple sources of electricity, so mataas yung reliability natin with microgrid system. Resilience and security of supply. So the critical loads can be served for sustained periods of time during and after catastrophic events, especially in the Philippines. Madalas po ang bagyo. So kung may microgrid system, and if you can recall, before nagkaroon tayo ng power interruption sa Visayas dahil after the typhoon, na-damage yung line ni NDC. So if there's a microgrid system, may supply na sana agad ng kuryente yun. For that incident, I think yung Bohol, yung nawala ng kuryente. Economic, kasi renewable energy yung ginagamit natin, so mas mura yung kuryente na napoproduce natin sa microgrid system. But I would like to correct yung ating idea, kasi pagka sabi nila pagka may solar, may microgrid system, sobrang mura na ng kuryente. But the real number is kapag may microgrid system ka, it only composed of very few loads, few households or small community, mahal pa din siya. So kung pwede lang sana na malaki agad yung demand or marami agad na community, okay siya, mas mura yung magiging rate natin from microgrid system. But in reality, kapag maliit lang, medyo mahal pa rin talaga. Environment, of course, because of the use of RE. So, nakatulong talaga siya. So, here is the different applications of microgrid. Then, we consider yung reliability, cost savings, and environmental benefits. So, dito, makikita ninyo, gawin natin example yung Philippines. So, for Philippines, so developing country tayo, for off-grid application, ito, kung mapapansin ninyo, for this application, ang talagang focus natin is cost savings and reliability. Hindi tayo masyado doon sa environmental benefits. But for other applications, for example, if you have a project na ang focus is ecotourism, so you install solar because, of course, environmental benefit. Not really looking on the cost savings. Minsan kahit mahal yung gastos natin, kasi i-highlight naman natin yung tourism, ituloy na lang natin. Minsan ganun nagiging discussion natin. So, it really depends on the application. Kaya yung sa mga nagtatanong, ano ba dapat yung i-consider natin for our project, you really need to check kung ano ba yung focus, yung goal ng iyong project na gagawin. If it's for ecotourism, or it's off-grid electrification, if it's for a campus or a military base, of course, pag military base, dapat yung reliability, yung mataas. So, medyo mababa yung environmental benefits natin and cost saving. So, it really depends on the application. So, dito tayo nagsisimula nung ating gagawing feasibility study. Ano yung paggagamitan mo ng system. So, meron tayong, minsan kasi may client na magpapagawa ng project. Pero yung focus niya kasi, for example, uh, electrification, ito yung very common eh. Pero pag gusto niya, i-target yung environmental benefits. Papagawa siya ng study for 100% RE. Meaning kasi hindi gagamit ng renewable energy, non-renewable energy ng diesel. Pero based on this, no, medyo hindi siya aligned kasi kung ganun yung gagawin mo, ang magiging effect nun is tataas yung presyo ng kuryente pagka gano'n. So, hindi natin na-hit yung target natin. So, this triangle is very useful, especially for those na interested dito sa ganitong projects. So, the total value of a microgrid, we have a value for the host, benefits for the host, yung sa mga customers, yung users ng microgrid system, and we have benefits for the grid itself, the system. So for the host, so ayun na nga, power savings, reliability, and resilience. But in addition, pwede natin idagdag yung benefits for the grid. So it can also provide grid services, ancillary, demand response, and sale of excess generation. And for the distribution, so it can improve the resiliency of the system, the investment deferral, access to ancillary services. So hindi lang pala yung mga customers yung nakikinabang, pati rin pala yung system. Pagka naglagay pala tayo ng microgrid system, tapos naglagay tayo ng solar farm, liit na solar farm, so aside from the cost savings, napapaganda niya rin yung system natin, distribution system. Kasi instead of getting power from the centralized generators, malapit na yung source mo. So it can improve yung power losses, yung iyong voltage drop, yung iyong load flow. So naaapektuhan niyo yung distribution system natin, napapaganda. Previously, may ginawa kaming study for a system, pinag-aralan namin kung ano yung magiging effect ng installation ng mga solar sa distribution grid. And nakita namin na bumababa yung systems loss, bumababa din yung voltage drop, gumaganda yung overall system ng distribution facility, ng distribution grid. Ito naman, so tapos na tayo dun sa introduction. So dito naman, na-present ko to dun sa previous na presentation ko. I think last year, yung ating Microgrid Systems Act. So for those who are really interested in developing a microgrid system, so meron tayong batas na dapat sundin, Republic Act number 11646, an act promoting the use of microgrid systems to accelerate the total electrification of unserved and underserved areas in the Philippines nationwide. So, approve ito January 21. So, pag sinabi nating unserved and underserved areas, these are areas na pag sinabi nating unserved, wala pang supply ng electricity. Pag underserved naman is they have a supply of electricity but hindi ito 24/7 or madalas yung power interruptions. So, yung mga areas na nakakaranas ng mga power interruptions, medyo delikado pagdating sa batas na to kasi you can be considered as underserved. Yan, no? Nakalagay dito. So, if the supply is not 24/7 and madalas yung power interruption, you can be covered by this RA 11646. So, ang pinaka-importante dito sa batas na ito is dito sa Section 4B, dinidiscuss yung competitive selection process. So, dito sinasabi na if you are participating or you are developing a microgrid project in the Philippines, so you need to join a transparent and competitive procedure or yung CSP, competitive selection process. But here, malinaw na sinasabi na this can be an auction, unsolicited proposal, or Swiss challenge. So, hindi ito katulad ng very common na ginagawa natin, nagkakaroon ng bidding. So, you can develop microgrid systems by simply submitting an unsolicited proposal to the distribution utility. So, for example, may isang electric cooperative distribution utility and meron siyang area na unserved, meaning to say walang kuryente, may isang island sa lugar ninyo na walang kuryente, or merong island doon pero 4 hours lang yung kuryente or 8 hours or 10 hours. So you can submit an unsolicited proposal to the distribution utility and that can be the start of your development. So doon magsisimula ngayon. Before kasi, bago itong batas na to, we only follow yung Electric Power Industry Reform Act. So yung IPIRA natin. Eh doon sa IPIRA, yung requirement natin is competitive selection through what we call yung tinatawag natin na qualified third-party companies. So dito, yung bagong batas natin, you can submit a proposal or do a Swiss challenge, no? Para dun sa project. So this is very important kasi with this information, pwede na kayo mag-start, mag-identify ng project and submit your own proposal. Ayan. So dito inuulit lang naman yung unserved and underserved areas natin. So yung binabanggit dito na MGSP, Microgrid System Providers, MGSP na yung tawag natin. So they can provide yung sinasabi ko kanina na power generation and distribution services. So if you are in a microgrid business, so dapat pareho yung ipoprovide mo na service, generation and distribution. Hindi pwedeng sasabihin mo, microgrid provider ako pero generation lang provide ko sa inyo. Hindi. Kailangan kumpleto, generation and distribution. Kasi pagka pupunta ka sa isang area na walang kuryente, of course, what can you expect na meron na sila agad doon na planta or distribution line, di ba? So, dapat pagka mag-i-engage kayo for a microgrid business, ready kayo for both power generation and distribution. Also, very important content of this act, dito sinasabi na if the project is awarded by the Department of Energy or its authorized entity, the execution of the contract, microgrid system contract, and the filing of a complete application with ARC shall comprise the authority of the MGSP. So, very simple lang naman yun. Kapag sundan natin yung discussion kanina, nag-topic ka ng unsolicited proposal mo, tinanggap ng distribution utility for their unserved area, and then eventually na-i-award sa'yo yung project. Pagka-pirmahan kayo ngayon ng kontrata and the filing of your application sa ERC, pwede ka nang mag-start ng yung project kasi may provisional authority ka na to start your project. Before kasi, alam nyo, nag-start ako sa microgrid industry way back 2013. But my very first completed microgrid system, yung natapos talaga with approval of ERC, year 2016 pa. So, ang laki nung gap from 2013 to 2016, very first system na natapos ko. Kasi yung process before, you, you join a bidding or you submit your proposal. But once na ma-award sa'yo yung project, you still need to wait for the approval from the state. So with that, talaga, yun talaga yung reklamo. But with this systems, medyo mag-siya kasi once na nagpatra ka na and once na mag-file ka na sa ERC, may provisional authority ka na to start collection of the rate specified in the award. Meron lamang 50 days ERC para mag-conduct ng hearing and 135 days para dun sa final decision. So, ganun kabilis yung process ngayon pagka nagde-develop ka ng microgrid system. So, ito very informative to illustration na to. So, to connect or not to connect. Kailan ka ba gagawa ng microgrid system? Kailan ba hindi feasible yung microgrid system? So, dito pinapakita lang na for example, if you have a very short distance, yung ating horizontal distance kilometers. Tapos yung vertical generation requirement in kilowatts. If you have very short distance, wala pang 5 kilometers, sinasabi lang dito na grid extension is likely to be the most viable option. Sabihin, if there's a community 5 kilometers away from the district, right? So, grid extension might be the solution for it. But if you have a system na say 20 kilometers, say ito yung very small demand niya lang, 40 kilowatt, from this illustration, sinasabi lang na both grid extension and off-grid systems could be viable. So, pwedeng line extension kasi medyo malaki yung demand. Or pwede din siyang microgrid system. But for situation na meron kang layong
Ayaw na muna doon. Dalawa, okay.
Gov, sandali lang, Gov, may maingay. Sino ba yung maingay na yan? Mr. Ernesto Oreta, kindly mute your microphone, please. At saka si Clark. Yun.
Thank you, BPX.
Okay.
So, continue ko lang po. So, ganun po yun. So, but most of the time po, pinag-aaralan talaga natin po. It's really good for line extension for an island mode microgrid system. So, meron po tayong studies na ginagawa doon para mapakita talaga natin if the project is really viable or not. So, ito po yun. If you are interested, so paano mo nga ba gagawin to build your first system? So, kanina medyo nasabi na naman natin yung mga important considerations, yung bagong batas natin, yung how we evaluate, what are the different advantages of using microgrid system. Pero yung ginagawa po talaga nating process, ito po talaga na-apply natin. So first is the high-level assessment. So if we say high-level assessment, document review, research, initial analysis. So dito po, nag-aaral po tayo based doon lamang sa mga available na information for the project na tinitingnan natin. Meaning to say po, kasi yung iba po na before, kapag gustong mag-develop ng project, medyo excited, medyo na-excite sila, medyo nag-spend agad ng malaking budget for different activities para dun sa development. Pero yung first step po talaga dapat is really high-level assessment based on information coming from the distribution utility or from other sources. Pag-aralan muna natin if it's really viable or not. So, energy resource assessment. Pwede ka pong gumawa ng energy resource assessment na remote using data coming from different internet sources lang. Yung solar irradiation data, wind speed data, you can use internet para makapag-run ka ng iyong study. So, conceptual budget, preliminary project economics, project functionality, and risk assessment natin, no? Potential barriers, kailangan titignan natin. Baka naman mamaya yung project mo napakaganda, pero meron kang very common in the Philippines is concern natin with security. So, tinitignan din po namin yung location. Baka mamaya po meron tayong threat from yung alam niyo na po, yung mga ating mga ano ba natin sasabihin? Mga kulay pula. No? Kulay pula. So, you need to identify talaga yung location, make study, if meron kang ganong risk. But, based on my experience po, even if there is a little threat, or kahit medyo malaking threat, still sometimes, because of this electrification project with the support coming from the local government units, na ano pa rin siya, na napupush pa rin yung project. So, medyo hindi siya nagiging ganun talaga kasi nare-resolve siya with the support of the local government. So, after this, kapag nakita po ninyo na talagang viable yung project, that's the only time you proceed with the feasibility study. So, ang nangyayari kasi minsan, nawawala yung high-level assessment, nag-feasibility study. Medyo mahal po ang feasibility study. Medyo mahabang oras din ang kailangan. So, baka mamaya kasi mag-feasibility study ka na, and then eventually, ano pala siya, hindi pala viable yung project. So, sayang yung ginastos ng company or kung ikaw, sayang yung effort na binigay for the feasibility study. You need this feasibility study because you need to also submit documents, technical documents, financial documents to our government agencies para dun sa application. So requirement talaga yan. Hindi mo pwedeng skip yung feasibility study. Pero sinasabi nga lang natin, before you do this, high-level assessment ka muna. So review, request and review of information, site investigation. Yung site investigation, very important, especially for the proper siting or location of your power plant. Saan ko dapat ilagay. Also, this is very important, site investigation to validate yung consumption, yung demand. Minsan, pag tinignan mo sa papel, over yung data. So, you need to go to the site to really check if it's really validated. Baka mamaya, yun yung gamitin mo for your project. Mag-design ka ng malaking planta, but eventually, maliit lang pala. So, sayang. So, review data, refine analysis. So, here, technology selection. So, dito dapat sa feasibility study mo, you can now say kung anong technology yung gagamitin. Are you going to install wind turbines? Is there potential for microhydro? Technology selection na po tayo. And also, ano bang mga brands yung gagamitin mo? Models, panel na gagamitin mo. Importante po yun. So, meron ka ng updated cost and economics, execution model, and due diligence. So, basta po pagka-feasibility study, dito na masabi mo na talaga kung mag-proceed ka or hindi dun sa project. Ito na yon, yung result nito, ito na yung magsasabi kung proceed ka ba o hindi. Makikita na rin dito kung ilang taon yung payback period, ilan yung IRR, ilan yung levelized cost of electricity mo. So, lahat yan makikita na po dito. The third stage, ito pagka umabot na po kayo dito, napaka-sarap na po sa pakiramdam nito. Kasi parang, ito na yun, malapit na yung project. Kasi pagka nasa investment grade audit ka na, yun na po yun, ipa-finalize na po yan yung mga proposal, contract, project development activities, financial agreements, nandiyan na rin po yan. So pagka meron ka ng investor, meron ka ng funding for the project, ano na yun, parang malapit na po talaga yun sa realization ng project. So dito din, papasok na po dito yung conceptual engineering. So kung napapansin nyo po yung first two stages, hindi pa po tayo conceptual engineering doon. Kasi minsan, electrical, parang excited tayo. Sige, gawan ko na yan ng design. Gawan ko na yan ng design analysis. Hindi pa po. Dito pa lang po tayo sa stage na to gumagawa ng conceptual engineering. Kasi nga, pwede pang magbago eh. Supply ng mga equipment, nagbabago pa po yun. So, pwede naman gumawa at early stage, kaya nga lang, sayang din kasi mababago din yun. So, cost estimate, project development support, and yung permitting. Dito na po yun. And lastly, fourth stage, syempre ito na yung paborito natin. Kasi nandito na yung EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction activities natin. So engineering, nandiyan na yung mga final design, dito na po yung procurement of materials, and then yung construction. So detailed engineering, procurement, installation and integration, commissioning, and operations and maintenance. So nandito na po lahat yun. So, very simple. Wala naman po itong pinagkaiba doon sa ating mga project implementation procedure for other projects. Ang pinagkaiba lang po talaga ng microgrid is yung, kasi nga may mga laws tayo na dapat i-comply, i-follow, but the good news is meron nga tayong bagong Microgrid Systems Act na masabi natin na mas mapapabilis yung project implementation. Ayan. So, bigyan lang natin ng konting detail pa. So, step 1 na yung sa feasibility study. So, step 1, you need to assess the load. Yung load, if it's in a community or kahit na industrial facility. Importante po na i-assess po yung load and magkakaroon po tayo ng projection. Kasi yung microgrid project, hindi po to pang 1 year lang, hindi po to pang 2 years lang. So, this can last for, say, 15, 25 years. Matagal po ito. So, you need to have a good load projection. And you need to assess your load for your project. Hindi pwede kung ano yung binigay sa'yo nung kausap nyo na contact, ito yung demand namin. Dapat po i-validate po ninyo. Kasi yung gagawin nyo po study, yung design, dapat talaga ma-serve mo yung demand. So, dapat i-validate and to have a projection. Then, analysis of existing diesel power plant. If there is an existing diesel power plant, kasi dito sa Philippines, very common yung may mga supply na from diesel power plant. Then, you assess yung installation ng solar. And in some cases, actually dapat in most cases, yung battery storage system to consider mo. And yun, optimization and simulation. So, medyo mahaba lang itong optimization, but if you're able to attend dun sa previous ko ng mga presentations, hindi discuss ko yung about mga optimizations na to. Ayan. So, ito po. So, input data, yung kanina natin binabanggit. Dagdag na lang natin yung solar. Pag wind naman, yung wind speed natin. Kapag microhydro, yung ating flow rate, to consider natin. So, you have financial modeling and technical modeling. Of course, electrical practitioners, itong lahat ng ito to consider natin for the technical modeling. Pero based on my experience, you also need to be familiar dun sa financial modeling. Kasi ang nagiging problema nito, yung gumagawa ng financial modeling sa mga tawag nito, financial analyst, tayo din yung magtatanong ng lahat ng mga inputs nila. So you need to understand din paano ba nila ginagawa yung financial modeling. So basically, you need to know how to calculate yung internal rate of return, payback period, net present value, levelized cost of electricity. Dapat lahat yun familiar ka kasi para mag-guide mo sila. If mag-fail yung financial modeling, hindi yun failure ng mga financial analysts. It's a failure of also yung sa technical. Kasi kung mabibigyan mo sila ng tamang information, magagawa nila ng maayos yung kanilang trabaho. Then, yung feasibility study reports natin. Projection, technological, economic, attractiveness. So, especially if you are looking for investors, very important ito. Kailangan maayos yung pagkakagawa mong financial feasibility study mo. Kasi yun yung titignan nila. Yun yung gagamitin nilang basis dun sa magiging decision nila if they are going to invest or not for your project. So, ito, pinapakita lang natin yung typical loads. Very important yung loads. Ito lang yung gusto kong i-highlight din kasi for industrial, yan is Tura, for island, ito, and then for rural electrification naman. So, iba-iba po yan. So, hindi po tayo pwedeng gumamit ng generic load. If you can measure it by using meters, mas maganda. If there's an existing supply or may record sila, mas maganda. Pero ang importante dito, if you are building your first microgrid system, bigyan nyo ng time analysis sa load. That's very important. Wait lang po, parang malulobat ako. Pero sige, continue lang natin. Okay, so ito naman po, pinapakita lang dito yung installing ng diesel generator. So, sa feasibility study kasi, if there's a generator, so, kailangan natin siyang i-consider dun sa gagawin nating feasibility study. So, this is for showing yung meron tayong load, then meron tayong solar. So, kung makikita ninyo dito, yung diesel power natin, ito na lang, itong line na to, bumababa siya. So, one of your consideration here is dapat, kahit na bumaba itong demand natin for diesel power, dapat mag-run pa rin ng efficient yung ating diesel generator. So, importante po na i-consider natin ito during our study. Kasi minsan, ginagawa, mag-install ng solar, so maganda yung solar, makakatipid sa solar, but pagka tumatakbo pala yung generator, less efficient yung generator. So yung savings na nakukuha mo with the use of renewable energy, nababawi siya nung inefficient operation generator. So dapat po i-consider natin ng mabuti yun. Ito naman po, for those na hindi makapag-decide, ano ba yung gagamitin natin? Magkakatulad ba na laki ng generator o iba-ibahin natin yung laki ng generator, yung size. So ito, pinapakita lang po dito yung 4 320 kilowatt generators. Ito po yung kanyang consumption, tapos energy share niya is at 32. Tandaan na lang natin, 3,592. And then 32%. Compare natin sa system 2. Kapag different yung sizes ng generator natin, ibang size ang ginamit niya. 600, 320, 200, saka 100. Depende dun sa load. So, ang consumption niya is 2,800 liters lang. So, mas mababa. So, ibig sabihin pala, pagka mag-design ako ng microgrid and backup generator, it's better to use different sizes. Kasi mas maliit yung consumption. Yung energy share ko, mas mataas din, 34%. Wait lang nalobat. Hello.
Okay? Okay na, Gob?
Rinig po. Sorry po nalobat
Okay.
kasi akala ko aabot eh. Biglang namatay naman. Medyo malayo kasi yung outlet. So, continue ko na lang po. So, dito na po ba? Dito po natapos BPX, no? Dito sa slide na to. Okay. So, if you are building or designing a microgrid, meron kang backup na diesel generator. And right now, the most common backup pa rin talaga natin is diesel generator. Madali kasing i-start. So, madali din na bilhin, i-install. So, right now, yung ating backup talaga is diesel generator. So, ang question lang dito is, anong size or paano mo isa-size yung system? So, number one, so sabi nga dito, it's better to use different sizes, so depending on your demand. So, ang hindi lang talaga po pwede, pagka microgrid system yung project mo, dapat yung backup system mo is multiple generator. Di ba, pinag-uusapan nga natin dito, different sizes. Hindi ka pwede magkaroon ng backup na single unit lang. Or dapat meron kang yung tinatawag natin na N-1 contingency. Hindi pwedeng isang unit kasi yung backup mo, pagka nagka-problema, wala nang backup. So, pagka microgrid system, hindi po pwedeng mangyari gano'n. So, you have to install multiple units. So, based on this example, so better pala yung different sizes tayo, no, depende din sa load. Para mas mababa yung consumption and mas mataas yung use natin ng renewable energy compared to this example. Pero, hindi ito always true. Kung ang project po ninyo is in a remote location, mahirap po yung delivery of materials, medyo hirap din po kayo doon sa paghahanap ng mga technical personnel na mag-ooperate ng planta. May mga ganung lugar po kasi walang mga graduate ng EE, so mahirap. Kung kukuha ka naman from nearby cities, medyo nahirapan din kasi ayaw mag-relocate ng mga practitioners. So if limited ka doon sa manpower, and yung sa delivery is a challenge, ang recommendation ko po is to use similar sizes. Kasi kung similar sizes po, similar brands, units mo, so sabihin, turuan mo lang sila to operate yung isang unit, alam na nila sa iba kasi pare-pareho naman sizes, ang model, ang brand. So in that way, kahit na medyo challenging yung sa manpower, nakapag-adjust tayo kasi napasimple natin yung operation. And also, mga spare parts, mga consumables, pare-pareho. So we don't need to store yung different kinds of spare parts for our units. Mas simple po yung ating inventory of materials. So this is case-to-case basis po. Depende po doon sa project na kino-consider ninyo. Ayan. And now, for battery storage or energy management system. So, hindi na naman po siya nalalayo dun sa mga familiar naman tayo dun sa mga solar home system. Mas pareho naman. Ang pinagkaiba lang talaga is mas lumalaki siya, mas dumadami yung ating mga equipment. So of course, you install battery storage. So you have this energy management system or controller na install mo. So depending on the operation, i-set mo yung iyong energy management system. So meron tayong different dispatch nito. So ito po yun. This is very common, yung tinatawag nating load following and cycle charging dispatch. So pagka load following yung dispatch po ng system, yung atin pong diesel generator, yung backup natin, will never charge the battery. So may mga ganung system po sa microgrid. Cycle charging is where charge battery, the diesel generator charge battery as much as possible whenever generator is needed. So yung isa, load following, walang battery charging. Yung cycle charging naman is merong charging ng battery. So ano po ba yung naging difference? Ito po yun. Ito yung ginawa kong basic illustration para mapakita talaga natin kung ano ba yung pinagkaiba. So gumawa po ako ng example sa same sizes of solar, 300 kilowatt peak, same sizes of generator, 2 by 100, same size of battery storage, 300 kilowatt hour. So nagkaroon ng difference doon sa cost of electricity, yung US dollar per kilowatt. Kung magkano yung ginagastos natin kada 1 kilowatt hour na electricity. Nagkaroon din ng difference doon sa renewable energy fraction. Ilang percentage ng supply ang nanggagaling sa renewable energy. Magkaiba. Simply because yung dispatch kasi natin, naging magkaiba yung load following at cycle charging. So ito po yung load following. Sabi natin kanina, pagka load following, pagka tumakbo yung generator, hindi niya i-charge yung battery. So dito po meron akong tawag nito, ginamit na color coding. So yung generator po natin yung orange, yung battery natin yung yellow-green. So dito po kasi, tulad nito, tumakbo po yung genset dito, nag-operate. Yung blue, yun yung demand. Ito po yung demand. So tumakbo po yung genset, kung makita po ninyo, yung output po ng genset is just enough to supply the demand. Ito lang siya. Diba? Kasi po, load following tayo. Load following. Pero pagdating po ng cycle charging, same time, tuwing gabi, nag-ooperate yung genset kasi kulang na yung solar. Tapos, pababa na rin yung battery. So, nag-ooperate na yung genset. So, tumakbo po yung genset dito. Mapansin po ninyo, sumobra siya dun sa demand. Kasi po, itong portion na to, itong area na to, ginamit po ito to charge the battery. Kaya kung titignan mo yung yellow-green, tumaas siya dito. Nagkaroon siya ng charging. Yung charging ng battery is equal to the area of this output of the genset. So, ginamit siya to charge the battery. Yun po yung pinagkaiba ng load following and cycle charging. But with that, and po yung naging effect, yung RE fraction natin, mas mataas po yung renewable energy natin for load following. Pag cycle charging, mababa kasi nga po, ginagamit natin yung genset para i-charge yung battery. Sa load following, solar lang yung ginagamit for charging the battery. And as an effect, yung cost of electricity natin, mas mababa siya kapag load following kasi na-utilize ng gusto yung solar versus cycle charging, nagagamit yung genset to charge the battery. So, ganun po yung difference. So, kailan po natin kailangan gamitin yung load following and cycle charging? Kasi kahit na mas mahal yung cycle charging, ginagamit pa din po natin yun. Depende po doon sa system. For example po, meron kang in-install na solar, pero hindi po yun enough to fully charge the battery during daytime. So, wala ka pong ibang option to use the genset for charging of the battery. So, kaya po nagkakaroon ng cycle charging. So, medyo mahal po yun, pero kailangan ganun yung gagamitin natin kasi, again, for microgrid system, it has to be reliable. So, kailan naman yung load following? Kapag meron ka pong project and malawak yung area mo for solar, malaki yung install mo na solar, so, hindi mo na gamitin yung diesel genset for battery charging. Yung solar na lang. So, dapat ilo-load following mo siya. Kasi pag nag-cycle charging ka po, magagamit mo pa yung genset, may enough ka naman na solar to charge the battery. So, titignan mo mabuti kung ano yung dispatch na gagamitin. But in other cases po, combined naman itong dispatch na to. Nagsiswitch siya automatically for load following and cycle charging depending on the situation. Ayan. So these are, again, the challenges for microgrid. Yung iba, nabanggit ko na kanina. Ang idagdag ko na lang po dito, ito, first yung grid code, Philippine Distribution Code, Philippine Grid Code natin. So as electrical practitioners, we have to comply with our grid code, no, yung grid compliance natin in installing microgrid systems. So medyo mahaba lang pong discussion. Pero ayun, if you are interested in microgrid systems, dapat familiar tayo sa Philippine Distribution Code and Philippine Grid Code. Papasok na po dito yung mga voltage and frequency control natin kasi gagamit tayo ng RE. So medyo may problem tayo with yung ating voltage and frequency control because of the variability of supply. Pero ang magiging solusyon natin dyan is yung use natin ng battery storage. So importante po yun. Yung kaninang dinidiscuss ko na battery storage. Ayan. So, yeah, design for efficiency and resiliency. Sabi dito, microgrid is equal to load analysis is key to the design. So, yung kanina pong paulit-ulit kong sinasabi, importante po yung load analysis natin dito. Hindi po natin pwedeng hindi i-consider yung load or hulaan lang natin or hindi natin i-validate. Magkaroon tayo ng problema if ganun yung gagawin natin for the design. So, designing requires balance between cost of the operation, operational expenses, ito ata manpower expenses. So, space available, fund resources, and yung government regulations natin. It's very important. So, in summary, so very simple naman po talaga dapat. Hindi na natin gawing komplikado how to build your first microgrid system. Number one, you have to understand, inform about the latest implementing laws natin dito sa Philippines. So, yun nga po, yung Microgrid Systems Act natin, dagdag nyo na lang dyan yung ating mga other laws. Of course, yung mga environmental laws natin, importante po yan for compliance. Yung ating, of course, mga ECC, if required yung ECC or Certificate of Non-Coverage, importante po yun. Ayaw naman natin, magtatayo tayo ng microgrid systems and eventually mapapasara because of yung non-compliance with the environmental laws natin. Number two, consultation with the different stakeholders. So, hindi lang po dito yung customers. Dapat kasama din po dito yung ating different government agencies na nag-i-implement ng ating mga batas. Importante po yun. We need to consult with them para po guided tayo. Medyo sabihin na natin na mahirapan yung implementation natin if i-skip natin yung mga consultations. And the Energy Regulatory Commission also requires yung development ng mga microgrid systems. Dapat may mga consultations ito. Especially if depende dun sa technology na gagamitin natin. So, for example, maglagay tayo ng micro-hydro doon or wind turbine, may maapektuhan. So, we need to do consultations. Feasibility assessment, sabi na natin yan, preliminary system design, financial planning, integrator selection. When you say integrator selection, ito na po yung sa EPC, yung engineering, procurement, and construction natin. And then, final engineering or the full design of the system, procurement of the equipment, and construction, commissioning, and then monitoring and maintenance. So, siguro po, in my experience and in my opinion, if you are, kung ngayon, before kasi, if you're going to develop sa akin nga, more than 3 years eh. But sabihin na natin yung average, you need to spend 2 years for building a microgrid system in the Philippines. From the start to regulatory, to testing and commissioning, 2 years. But with the recent law, pwede talaga siya magawa in about a year. Pwede siyang matapos yung microgrid system. Ang importante lang, you follow kung ano man yung mga nakalagay dito sa presentation na to because it's very important. Yung ating mga guidelines, mga laws, and yung tamang procedure and what are the important considerations in the development of your microgrid system. So that's the end of my presentation. BPX, so if there are questions, I know na pagka Thursday Delight, medyo marami tayong mga inquiries. So, open po tayo for question and answer. Meron po bang gusto magtanong? Don't worry po, I'll be providing you the copy of this presentation. Ibibigay ko na lang po kay BPX para po pagbigay nung certificate ninyo, maisama po yung ating PDF copy ng presentation.
Sir Adrian, hello. Rinig niyo po ako, Sir Adrian?
Sir Edwin, yes po sir. May question
Ako,
po, sir.
reply na lang po kayo doon sa sa DM ko, sa chat. Kasi
kita ko, sir.
sinabi niyo nga po, medyo sensitive yan. Kasi
Ay, wait lang po,
Sige,
sir. I-mute ko lang, sir. May nagsasalita. Sir Edwin, sige po.
yes po, i-message niyo lang po kasi sabi niyo nga po medyo sensitive yan. Tapos pag
Yes, sir.
talagang mga
I
remote
get it, sir.
projects, usually yan, constant yan. Kaya hindi na pa naman po ako naging parang malaking project manager. Pa-reply na lang po if ever kasi baka malagay po ako doon sa sitwasyon na yon if ever.
Sige, sir. I-reply kita kayo, sir. Oo, simple lang naman. Wait lang po, i-reply. Medyo sensitive yung question ni sir. Yan. Thank you, Sir Edwin. Na-reply ko na po, sir.
Sige po, ando naman po yung email nyo, tapos yung phone number nyo. Kung meron po ako mga further questions, doon na lang po siguro sa Radian. Pasensya na ho.
Sige, sir. If you have questions, anytime, please message me first. Para po makatulong ako sa inyo, sir. So, sige, basahin ko na lang po yung questions na meron. Sir Terence, yung dispatch saan siniset sa hybrid inverter? Yes, sir. We have different setting naman, sir. Depending on the inverter that you are using or microgrid controller. You can set, sir. For bigger projects, sir, mga microgrid controllers natin, sir, pinapa-program na natin yun depending on yung application, yung dispatch na gusto natin. So, meron po tayong mga provider ng controller ngayon. Pwede nilang i-customize yung controller depending on your requirement. So, ano po yung brand model ng generator, ng panel, or ng wind turbine na gagamitin niyo, they can customize para maging maayos po yung operation. But for small systems, sir, yes, you can set depending on your requirement. Okay. So, sino pa po bang may question? Certificate po, meron po ito. Lagi po ito, may certificate po ito. Yung Thursday Delight natin. Pinapadala lang po yan sa email po ninyo. Yung attendance po ninyo, automatic na po yan sa Zoom na ano po ata nila. Pero i-check na lang natin kay Sir. Sir Dan, mag-attendance ba sila? Alam ko kasi sa Zoom na lang ito. Sa Zoom ata po yung attendance ninyo. Automatic na po.
Padala ng link.
So, question pa ba? Parang puro sa attendance and ano. CPD points po, Sir Noel, ano po to? Self-directed po ito. So, you can use this for your uh, together with other self-directed CPD, sasabit ko sa PIC for the CPD points ninyo.
Ay, sorry, ngayon ko lang po yun nalaman, Sir Adrian. Lahat po ba ng Thursday Delight qualified for CPD, sir? Po?
Yes, sir. Apo, self-directed yan, sir. So if you're attending Thursday Delight every Thursday, so for sure, ang dami mo ng certificate. So if you need a CPD, isasubmit mo lang yun one time para makredit po yung mga CPD ninyo.
Sige po, sir. Salamat.
Okay, sir. Question po ni Sir Lionel Alolor, Senior. Does microgrid required substation? Yes, Sir Lionel, you need to have, pero hindi na po katulad nung alam natin ng mga substation na malalaki. Since these are all distributed renewable energy, so mga maliliit na lang po ito na substation. Of course, you still need kasi, sir, yung output, for example po, yung output po ng ating mga solar, wind turbine, generator. So, depende po sa magiging output. You need to step up to, for example, 13,800 volts or 13,200. So, you need to step up pa din. So, you need to use transformer po. So, may substation pa rin po.
Salamat, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Ayun, may Google form pala si Sir Dan Oliver. So, ano na lang po, access nyo na lang po yung, yung Google form para po sa attendance niyo. Okay? Kay Sir Ferndale. Oh, yes, sir, pang thesis. Actually, maraming mga schools ngayon na nag-i-inquire about this topic kasi they are interested in conducting research activities for microgrid systems. Kasi very challenging yung microgrid systems. Isipin nyo po, no, you have a system with different combinations of power supply. So, paano mo siya i-design ng tama? Ma-optimize mo yung system. So, that's one of the challenges ng microgrid system. So, medyo marami pong nakaka-interest. Aside from that, yung complexity po nung yung load projections, so, maraming interesado na gumawa ng mga ganitong klase ng study. My only suggestions, if we have students here or sa academe, if you are doing this kind of research, ang mas maganda po talaga, makapag-identify kayo ng lugar talaga na nangangailangan ng ganitong project. So eventually, after the research, magagamit siya. So, before kasi maraming gumagawa, pero hindi nagagamit yung study. So, if magawa nyo talaga ng maayos yung study, thesis ninyo, you can look for developers or financiers na pwedeng bumili nun and magamit yung ginawa ninyo. So, mas mapapakinabangan po siya. Si Sir Tyrone Res Castro, question niya po, are there any alternative energy storage solutions that can overcome the limitations of batteries in microgrid projects? Right now, sir, talking about microgrid system, sir, best solution pa rin talaga, sir, yung battery storage sa ngayon. Even masyadong mataas pa rin yung cost ng lithium ion. But still, battery storage, kasi sir, yung installation niya mas madali. Yung requirement niya, medyo mas madali compared to, say, if you are going to use other kinds of storage like flywheel, medyo luma na po yun. Pero for microgrid systems talaga, for now, mas ano po yung use ng battery storage. And nagde-develop yung technology natin for battery storage. Ang kagandahan nun, gumaganda po yung technology and bumababa po yung price. So eventually, we are hoping na in the near future, mas magiging mura na, saka mas maganda na yung technology natin for battery storage. I hope na sagot ko po yung question ni Sir Tyrons. Thank you po. May question pa po kaya? May gusto bang humabol? Wala pa ata si BTX nagda-drive siguro.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Sir, yes po. Sir Muhedin Sumagayan, sir.
Yes, sir, good afternoon. First of all, thank you po sa kwan na to, sa very informative na lecture nyo. Hindi, kasi po, baka sa amin po kasi dito sa Mindanao, marami po kasi kaming kuan, mga runoff river na pwedeng installan sana na micro-hydro na microgrid, gawing microgrid sana.
Yes, sir.
Baka meron po kayong alam na pwedeng matap ng LGU or whatever para gawa ng
Oo.
study or pwedeng project mismo, proposal, para at least ma-harness po yung mga runoff rivers namin dito actually.
Oo. Sir, alam ko, sir, merong before, may nabalitaan ako, sir, for General Santos. Meron silang gagawing study eh. Ewan ko lang, sir, kung natapos na, but that is a runoff river na project. Microgrid system din siya. So, malayo. San ba, sir, sa Mindanao, sir, yung location niya, sir? Wala lang.
Sa Lanao po, Lanao.
Now,
Actually, meron din po kami mga study pero doon lang po kami kasi nababara sa mga sa technology. Sa technology, for example, kung anong gamitin na turbine, ano bang design ng generator din, especially na low speed yung mga generator na gagamitin, tapos high torque, mga ganun ba. Thank
sige,
you po.
sir. Sir, mag-message tayo, sir, pero meron kasi mga, hindi naman siya runoff river, pero meron tayong mga existing na projects na napuntahan ko before. Dito sa Philippines, sir, na successful naman, sir, yung mga hydro project nila. So, let's see, sir, baka naman makakuha kayo ng information doon. Ibibigay ko sa inyo, sir, yung details. Baka lang ma-connect ninyo. Sir, saan ba kayo, sir, sir? Affiliated now?
MSU, sir.
That's cool. Sige, sir. Ibigay ko, sir, yung information. Baka makapag-connect. Kasi for me kasi, medyo yung right now, ang focus talaga namin is for solar battery system. Meron din kami before for wind turbine. So yung micro hydro, medyo for Philippines talaga, medyo konti pa lang yung study na nagagawa for that kind of system. Pero i-refer kita dun, sir, sa may operating hydro na para please baka may makuha kayong information.
Sige, thank you, sir. Mag-email lang ako sa'yo, sir, ha? Okay lang? Para
Yes,
at
sir.
least. Sige, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you sa IE Laguna chapter po. Thank you din po. More power.
Welcome, sir. So, meron pa ba? Sir, sa Cagayan de Oro, microgrid din mo. Okay, sir. Baka may microgrid din tayo sa Philippines po, medyo madami na po. Medyo dumadami na sa ngayon yung mga tinatayong microgrid systems. Pero hindi pa po kayo huli. Kung nakinig po kayo kanina at interesado kayo, hindi pa po kayo huli at napakarami pa po na potential na po pwede ninyong i-develop na project sa Philippines. Hindi po kayo maubusan ng project if we are talking about microgrid systems. Kaya I would like to encourage yung mga kasama natin dito na pag-aralan natin and pagka may lugar dyan sa inyo, you can start with yung mga lugar na malapit sa inyo na alam niyo na nangangailangan ng project. Or even if you are in a company, kasi yung sabi ko nga kanina, most ng discussion ko is off-grid. But sabi nga natin, on-grid pwede din. So if you are working in a company, you can also develop your microgrid system. Pwede din po yun. Okay. Sige po, magtatanong pa po ba?
Hindi po yan tanong sa radio yan, sa GC po yan.
Okay. Sige, sir. Na-direct message, sir. Pero basahin ko na rin, sir. Para ba to sa GC? Yung mga madalas mag-brown out na may malawak na area, pwede i-develop for microgrid. Yes, sir. Kaya po, yung mga kasama natin dito, pagka yung lugar po madalas ang blackout, tignan po ninyo ano yung may tutulong natin. Baka naman, meron kayong i-recommend dyan sa inyo para malagyan ng microgrid.
Alam mo kung itong tinago ni Ricky yung cutting outfit?
Sir Gerald, may tanong po kayo?
Siyempre ba yung usapang ng hotel? Roger. Kasi titingnan namin kung pwedeng host lang yung bibili. Wala daw makita sa Ricky na meetings. Sabi, di ba sinutuksok lang yun tapos may pang-click?
Hello, Sir Gerald. May limit lang
Kung
natin.
cutting outfit, kung mapag-click ka ng host, di ba sinutuksok mo lang click yun tapos may pang-click. Parang nagpalit ka lang pa ng host ng gato.
Hindi ko pala mamit. Sir Dan, mamit ko na lang.
Kailangan talaga natin. Kasi yung doon sa may pito kanina,
Wait lang po, limit lang natin. Hello, Sir Gerald. Pamit na lang.
yan ang niliti yung bibili eh, hinahanap.
Hindi ko mamit. Wala na ata. May question si Nicole. Pwede po ba siya gawing solution for case study about frequent power interruption? Yes po, ma'am. You need to identify lang what is the root cause of the power interruption. If one of the problem is the supply, kasi pagka yung problem po is related to supply, of course, microgrid system is a solution. Pag root cause of problem is yung sa distribution system, so medyo limited yun. So you need to identify, baka naman yung power interruption ay nangyayari doon sa isang community na malayo sa main supply, nasa load end. So baka may problem siya with the distribution system related to siguro voltage drop. Tingnan natin. So pwedeng based doon sa presentation natin, pwede yung microgrid to address. Pero if distribution yung root cause talaga, very limited lang yung magiging very limited lang yung magiging effect ng microgrid system. But if it's power generation, yun mas malaki talaga yung magiging contribution niya. Reliability. Reliability po ng distribution system, ma'am, yung magiging problem. If it's reliability of the distribution system, may magagawa yung microgrid, yung distributed renewable energy, pero hindi po sobrang laki ng impact. Pero pwede niyo pong subukan. I-consider as one of your solutions in your study. Pwede naman po. I-focus niyo po yung discussion sa voltage drop, systems loss. Yan. Yun po yung consider niyo. Kasi minsan pag malayo po masyado yung isang community, because of the voltage drop, mababa na yung voltage and eventually doon na nagsisimula yung other problems bumababa na yung reliability. May po, welcome po. Okay? Sige po. Okay, so if wala na pong question, Sir Dan?
Yes, go,
Ayan, si BPX.
Carmona.
Saan ka na, BPX?
Carmona na, Carmona.
Carmona na. BPX na ano na naman natin yung questions eh. If tingnan lang natin kung may hahabol pang magtanong.
Sige.
If wala na po, I think we are
O, yan. Open pa naman yung time.
Opo.
Meron pa ba? Si Sir Domi.
Nag-thank you na si Sir, Domi kanina eh. Nabasa ko.
Kilala pala ko ni engineer eh.
Yes sir, sa tuwing magpe-present ako sir, ikaw yung lagi kong natatandaan sir. Nung unang presentation ko, marami pang tanong si Sir Domi, pero ngayon medyo na konti na lang.
Kabisado na yan.
Yes po, opo. Naka-attend po to si Sir Domi.
Wala masyadong na-absorb kaya wala ko maitanong.
So,
Yung kasi mga subject matter yun, wala sa college ko niyan. 50 years ago.
yun lang talaga, sir. Like continuous learning.
Kaya nga maganda eh. Ngayon, pag na-absorb ng bahagya yun, may maitanong na ako. Pero it's good to lectures like this. Lalo na sa mga bata-bata dahil the seniors will learn so much from the young generation.
Thank you, sir.
Lalo na si Gov Adrian, ang sipag po yan.
Basta po,
So, again, if there are no other questions, Gov, email ko na lang yung certificate mo, Gov. Kasi
yes
hindi walang nakagawa. Nasa labas kami lahat, ha?
Okay lang, BPX. Wala pong problema. I'm very glad po na na-invite niyo po pa ulit-ulit dito.
Again, thank you again, Gov Adrian. Regards dyan sa Davao, kina Gov Edgar.
Thank you po. Ingat po kayo. Ingat po kayong lahat.
Okay. Again? Yeah, okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. See you next week again. Thank you, Gov Adrian. Thank you.
po.